I was quite hesitant about making this video because I know people get on YouTube for light-hearted content. Seeing this is a space where we can get away from our reality, but I decided to do it anyway because just from doing the research for this video, I was shocked to see the kind of things that actually happened, and I came to realize how uninformed I was about the many controversies related to designer brands. In November 2022, Balenciaga faced a lot of backlash because of their very controversial advertisement that seemed to portray the element of child exploitation. And of course, you can understand why people get so furious about the situation, because what's more important than protecting young children? And being a mother myself, I can totally understand the angry response from the public. Now, I don't read the news in the morning because I prefer to start my day with a good and positive energy. I personally find the news media very skewed because they love to post only the very negative things, because whatever that can provoke emotions and arguments get a lot of attention. So I wasn't aware of the Balenciaga scandal until I posted an Instagram picture wearing my Balenciaga mini city. I think it was the day after the scandal broke out. A subscriber then sent me a message asking why I was still featuring the brand, and that's when I started looking into it. Since then, I've been keeping my bag in the dust bag and I haven't been wearing it. Now, obviously, Balenciaga quickly apologized and they deleted their Instagram posts, and the campaign was stopped altogether. In December, the designer Demna apologized, taking full responsibility for the campaign. As we speak, Balenciaga has deleted all their Instagram posts. It looks like they are trying to stay under the radar, and hopefully the public will eventually forget and forgive. Now, scandals do come and go, especially in this information era. So typically, when something awful happens, we get angry for a bit, but we tend to move on when the next horrible thing happens. But I feel like this one is a bit different because whatever that compromises the safety and well-being of children is rightfully condemned. I don't know what's the answer, and I would love your opinions on this one. What do you think Balenciaga can do to repent their mistake? And have they done enough to show that they're sorry? In spring, Balenciaga announced that they will be working with the National Children's Alliance for the next 3 years. It's clearly a very fitting cause for the brand to support, but is it good enough an effort? The next one is Dolce & Gabbana. In 2018, the brand posted 3 videos on their social media showing a Chinese model attempting to eat Italian food like pizza and spaghetti using chopsticks. You can see they were trying to portray the model in a very stereotypical way, and the tone of the video was just very condescending. In the video, there was a very patronizing voice in the background asking the model to use her chopsticks like pliers. Now, I worked as a dentist for nearly 13 years, and I have used many pliers in my time. And I will tell you, chopsticks do not work like pliers, and vice versa. Dolce & Gabbana said the campaign was a tribute to China, which I find really funny because it did not feel that way whatsoever. Unsurprisingly, this was followed by a massive outrage across China. Many celebrities started boycotting the brand, and those who were supposed to attend the fashion show in Shanghai cancelled. A lot of websites and stores started dropping the brand, and the Chinese authorities even cancelled the entire fashion show. Eventually, the Chinese model spoke out about this, saying the campaign nearly ended her modeling career. Since the advertisement, she's been heavily criticized for assisting Dolce & Gabbana in trivializing the Chinese tradition, and she's even been receiving threats. According to the model, she wasn't actually aware of the filming details until the very last minute, and she was made to do some really uncomfortable things. I do feel sorry for her because I feel like as a model or an actress, you don't have complete control over what you're asked to wear or do. Dolce & Gabbana did release a statement saying they have nothing but respect for China and its people, but no apology was ever made with a direct reference to those very disrespecting videos. Here's the thing, I love my chopsticks and I think they are a fantastic invention, no matter what Dolce & Gabbana thinks. I was born in Malaysia, but I do have a Chinese heritage, and this one feels quite personal to me. Next, we have Gucci. Now, Gucci is not new to controversies. In 2019, they released a jumper with a design that resembled blackface. I don't think I need to elaborate on how offensive and upsetting this is. I just do not understand how Gucci would think it's okay to do something like this. And to make the situation worse, this broke out in February, and February is the Black History Month, which is the month to celebrate the history of African Americans. I mean, could the timing be more ironic, right? I know we all make mistakes, but you would think a massive company like Gucci would have a system in place to make sure something like this does not happen. I mean, for a design to be released, it must have gone through a lot of people, so it's puzzling how no one thought that this is not okay. Gucci apologized and they removed all the jumpers from their websites or stores, and they said they would turn this incident into a powerful learning moment to encourage more diversity. Again, the question is saying sorry enough? And why is that always the answer to everything? Next is Burberry. In the 2019 London fashion show, Burberry showcased a hoodie with a noose round the neck. It's quite a disturbing design to say the least, and I agree with Liz Kennedy when she said there are hundreds of ways to tie a rope, but Burberry chose to have a noose that also happened to go round the neck. Now, Liz Kennedy was one of the models at the fashion show, and she spoke out saying there's nothing glamorous or edgy about ending one's life, and she said she was ashamed to have been part of the show. Now, apparently, the designer Riccardo Tisci actually dedicated this collection to young people, which made the whole thing even more controversial because we all know young people are a lot more impressionable, because this is a very confusing stage that we all have to go through before we finally figure out our identity. So to normalize such drastic action in the name of fashion is something I personally cannot understand. Now, Burberry did issue a formal apology and the collection was removed, thankfully, because I cannot imagine seeing this news on every Instagram post. In 2019, Gucci came under fire for featuring straight jackets in their fashion show in Milan. One of the models, Aisha Tan-Jones, protested by holding up their hands on which they had written, "Mental health is not fashion." Now, straight jackets were commonly used in the past to restrain patients with mental health problems. Thankfully, we've seen a lot of progresses in the mental health department, and we now understand mental health a lot better than we did. So straight jackets are no longer used unless if they are absolutely necessary. So I agree that it's really insensitive for Gucci to use straight jackets as a fashion design, especially in the way they did. Aisha commented on how the models were rolled out on a conveyor belt as if a piece of factory meat. Posting on Instagram after the show, Tan-Jones wrote, "Straight jackets are a symbol of a cruel time in medicine when mental illness was not understood and people's rights and liberties were taken away from them while they were abused and tortured in the institution." Gucci tried to clarify the situation by saying that the straight jackets were just a statement for the show and that they would not be sold. The designer Michelle said that to him, the show was the journey from conformity to freedom and creativity, and that the restrictive clothes were part of a performance. It doesn't sound like an apology to me, but you can be the judge. And those are only the relatively recent scandals. But even in the past, things were not rosy either. For example, Coco Chanel and Louis Vuitton both actively collaborated with a certain German regime during the Second World War. That was one of the darkest chapters in human history, so I think we all know what regime I'm referring to. And then there's Hugo Boss. In 2011, the brand issued a formal apology for their activities during the Second World War. Basically, they forced prisoners to work in their factories for free. And as we all know, many of these prisoners were actually innocent and law-abiding citizens. I was under the impression that we had learned from history, but the reality seems to suggest that we still have so much more work to do. Truthfully, it was depressing to see the kind of things that happened in the fashion world. world. I used to think that fashion was a form of art, just like painting and music. It's something that's supposed to bring people together, not to discriminate or make fun of people just because they don't look, live, or eat the same way like certain other people. I understand that fashion brands sometimes have to make some really edgy designs just to make noise and to stand out. But it doesn't mean pushing the boundary so much to the point of challenging the aspect of morality or even basic human decency. The world can only be a better place if we respect and love each other. Let me know if you were aware of these controversies related to designer brands, because like I said, I was oblivious to it all until I started looking into it. And that's it from me today. Take care and I will see you soon.